Hey guys, it's Charlie, and welcome to Outskirts Overland. It is Tuesday, the 25th. We're almost in April. Anyways, how's it going, guys? Back again, another daily one. Here we are. I'm finally starting to get some feedback, guys. I really appreciate you. Thank you for that. I I super appreciate that. But so my friend Corey wrote in, and I'm gonna switch it a little bit, but he wrote in and said essentially, you know, like overlanding with potentially medical limitations. And I'm also going to spin off of that and say, hey, overlanding with friends that maybe have medical limitations potentially. So, for instance, when I go out, like there's a potential that somebody's allergic to bees, somebody's allergic to poison ivy. Um, One of my friends is blind in one eye, so it's extremely important that he has eye pro. We probably also don't want to put him in situations where affecting his eye, as far as like we probably shouldn't have him doing something that's potentially going to compromise the one eye he has to where now he can no longer see at all, right? Or also knowing, like, with some redundancy, like, does somebody have diabetes and they need to have their insulin in something cool? Like, is there a backup plan if what they have doesn't work? Do you guys have a strategy if something happens along those lines? If, poison ivy, and, and insulin's one, but really real to us is someone that's blind in one eye. It's really real to us. And then poison ivy is a big one for sure. Allergies can also be a big one, or even the potential of somebody being allergic to something and going into like anaphylaxis. And this is not a first aid podcast, but it's more of a preparedness, in general. Like, they're really expensive, but I think having an EpiPen, probably two amongst the group at least, is a super important thing to have just for allergy purposes. Because nothing is more, and I carry an EpiPen, nothing is more like the whole point of our hobby is to get far away. And there'd probably be nothing worse than somebody just, really being in a real bad way, because you don't have an EpiPen. You don't have the stuff you need to potentially just get somebody back. Um, and when my friend Corey brought this up, I was like, man, that is such a good topic that I would have never even thought. Like, that would have never crossed my mind as a topic to have. So shout out to Corey. Really, really appreciate the topic. Like, because these are real things that we need to be paying attention to. You know, what happens, like, even in the event, like, it's worth being cautious and prepared. Like, and again, it's not necessarily, I'm not talking first aid, but like just basic stuff that could happen. The whole point of our hobby is getting as far, not as far, but getting very far away. And again, I now have an iPhone 16. I have a Zolio, so satellite communication is a thing. But what if you can't make it? What if you can't make it back in time and somebody gets stung by a bee and is allergic to it, or somebody, you guys come together and cook food together, and somebody puts something in food. Stacy put something in food that Sarah's allergic to, and now we got a situation. Because I've never even been a part in this. I have kids, and they're in school, and this is a huge topic in schools. But it has literally never even crossed my mind. Like, what if you're, as adults, somebody's allergic to something? You guys are at a potluck of some type, or you guys do a, like, I'm gonna cook this night, you're gonna cook that night, you're gonna cook the next night. I've never been involved where it wasn't just we're making chili. Like, nobody's ever been like, can you break down the ingredients? Because somebody might be allergic to something, or somebody might have a problem with something, or for instance, like, just knowing, like, for the individual with, that's blind in one eye, we got to make sure we're protecting that eye from him, so we're not going to put him in charge of, using the chainsaw. Like, just kind of more of being acclimated to the group you're with, the people you're with. or even your own potential limitations and being prepared for those. Like even I could think of it like, and I know I have a lot of international listeners. So, and I don't know fully the context of like medications and the medical, how the medical system works there. But I do know in America, a lot of people are on blood thinners. And blood thinners are potential, if you're somebody that's using an axe and you're on blood thinners, you cut yourself, they make stuff like, and again, I'm not trying to make this about like what you should carry for first aid. I'm just talking about like what you should be prepared for your specific needs due to your specific potential medical, physical limitations. So, like, for instance, if you're someone that's on blood thinners and you're out in the backcountry and you're sawing stuff and cutting stuff, like it'd probably be very. I would probably have like a decent type of pressure dressing to where you could pack a wound or put something tight on a wound. A tourniquet is a great thing, but I don't think just because you got a cut, you want to tourniquet an arm or something, because the potential of that getting amputated for being tourniqueted too long. And again, I'll get way into my knowledge on this another time, but like just again, like if you're on blood thinners, I probably have some type of way of potentially putting a dressing on that wound to try and you, not necessarily stop the bleed. I mean, it's not an arterial bleed, but you will bleed more on blood thinners. So I think that's super important. If you're excuse me, like I said, if you're somebody with allergies, and I don't mean allergies like ragweed, I mean like you're physically allergic to something, like in a bad way, then I think it's very, 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 very useful to have an EpiPen, and know how to administer it. EpiPens are kind of expensive these days, and they do expire somewhat regularly. But it's kind of like it's kind of like if life jackets were expensive, and you're somebody that is on a boat a lot. Like it's the difference between, and you can't swim. It's kind of like, is an EpiPen worth potentially your life over something dumb like getting stung accident? Like you could get stung accidentally. You know what I mean? Um, so I think just paying attention to what your potential limitation may or may not be, and being prepared, not only being prepared yourself for your own known limitation, making the group or people you're with, like even if it's not a group, like your passenger, making them aware of your physical limitation and needs, and also being prepared yourself, and potentially even, you know voluntelling someone, I like the term voluntold, to be like the secondary, hey, could you also bring this just in case? Like, because what I could see happening is, yeah, let's just, bees is just what comes to mind, freaking the easiest one to use for this analogy. But say I'm allergic to bees and I have an EpiPen, but I get stung by a bee and you don't know where my EpiPen is, and my throat's closing and my face is swelling or my eyes are swelling shut, et cetera, et cetera. That EpiPen's not really as good for me because I don't know that I can get to it. My eyes are swollen shut. I can hardly breathe. So it's important that somebody that's not allergic to bees probably also has an EpiPen. You don't want to be the one that's prepared just for yourself, and then you're in a situation where you yourself couldn't even facilitate your own aid. So I think that's definitely worth the thought, at least. Um, because let's be real here, guys, like there people have stuff going on. Like people have stuff, and that shouldn't deter you from going. But you definitely should be thinking through it, like have some forethought. Like, oh, we could sit here and think like, oh, I need a tire patch kit. I need tools. I need spare parts. But like, I have never, ever, ever even thought like, do my friends have any medical like needs that maybe we should be aware of? Um, I never even thought of it. And when Corey brought up, I was like, dude, that is not only a great topic, That's something I should implement. You know, I mean, people offer that information rarely, but it's people bring their kids with us, like, and we take kids with us. Like, different people will take people's kids. Like, oh, hey, we're gonna go down the lake and go fishing with so and so, and their parents are still at the lake. Like, it's definitely worth knowing if they're like real allergic to something. And this may sound like kind of like a real, like, I don't know, hover parent type thing, but like, it's a real thing and we should pay attention to it. Like, it it it's such a it would be such a dumb thing to cause like a real legitimate catastrophe. Like, it would be so dumb, at least in my opinion, if I got myself in like a really bad situation and somebody got really hurt over something so, in my opinion, just like, I don't know, dumb. It would be dumb. It's just not that hard to go, hey, what are you cooking that with? Or, hey, I'm allergic to this, I'm allergic to that. Because I remember when I was in the military, and again, I go back to the military a lot, but if you have any allergies, you wear a red dog tag so that it's known you have those allergies. So somebody doesn't administer something that you're allergic to, potentially medically, or they know if something's happening, what the potential cause of that might be. And everybody's got their blood type on them and stuff. But like, even in the military, like, you don't want to take one problem and make it a worse problem due to an allergy. You don't want an allergy to be the problem and you're treating something different. Even even in a combat scenario, like, being allergic to something is, you know, being allergic to something and that's known, and then essentially getting hurt, or even worse, you know, passing away due to a known allergy would be about the freaking dumbest thing that could happen. Like, be ahead of that. And I do go with groups sometimes. I go by myself sometimes, and I am uh, lucky enough to where the only allergies I have are medications that aren't available to me in openly to have in my truck or anything. So, I mean, I'm pretty well good to go. I don't have allergies to bees, wasps, scorpions, whatever. Poison ivy, poison oak. And I bring up poison ivy and poison oak because there's been a scenario in my life where I have been with someone and they're very allergic to poison ivy. And somehow, some way, there was some poison ivy on something that we burned in a fire. And then that poison ivy got in said individual's lungs, or throat, excuse me, throat, lungs, whatever. That was a bad deal. That was like a super bad deal. And we knew they were allergic to poison ivy. I don't even know how that occurred. Like, I don't recall it happening, but based on the reaction and then the medical reaction, like, that is what happened. Um, and they were, I wouldn't say they're severely allergic to it. Like, they weren't gonna, but when it got in their throat and stuff, that's a bad deal. So you may be like, oh, not a big deal, I'll just look for it. Like, that happened. Like, that happened. I lived that. That's a thing that happened. So it's something to definitely think about. Never in a million years did I think like that would like aerosolize it, but hey, man, it did, and that's real. So, you just think about it. Like, it again, it's not like a huge deal. This isn't a call to action like do this or everybody's screwed. Like, but it is something to think about that I mean, I guess I'm aware of it to some extent, but it's not like something that's been at the front of my mind, thinking like, oh yeah, like, got to make sure I got that. I'm more like, got to make sure I got food, got to make sure I brought my recovery gear, just other stuff. And it's really not life or death potentially. So I think that paying attention and thinking through your own limitations, I could see it being your own limitation that you're not prepared for just because you don't think about it, like, you just might not think about it, but you may be so far and so long away from any way of getting aid that you need to be able to self-administer some stuff for yourself in case that happens. Like, and again, I'll bring it back. Like, you also need to know the limitations of the people you're with. Like, just like whether it's, if you're with somebody and they are diabetic and their insulin needs to stay cold, it'd probably be best to not just have one person with a fridge or a cooler full of ice, And if it's you that has insulin, it's probably not the smartest to only have one way of keeping that cool. Have two ways of keeping that cool just in case, because that's expensive too, and you need it. You like literally need it. And prescriptions aren't based around the fact that like, oh, I messed up and ruined it. Like you get it based on a time frame and dosage based on days. So like if you're not prepared and you ruin something, like you're not going to just be able to be like, oh yeah, like it doesn't necessarily work that way. So making sure your medications are handled. If you take any medications that are like really, really, really necessary, making sure you're prepared to have those protected, have them in places where you're not going to accidentally drop them out of the car. Like say you have a medication that's pill form and you need it. Like you have to have it, right? Don't have it in something where the potential to just drop it is going to be easy. Like keep it somewhere where, like for me, I have some medications that are pretty important to me. I keep them in the center console and I take them in the truck, take the medication and put the bottle back in the center console and close it. Am never in a situation where like I step out of the truck to take it. And again, I do this, but I never thought in the world to like pass that along. Because I know a lot of people like you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you've got all your stuff outside you're outside, like outside the tent, brushing your teeth, doing whatever. You could super easily drop something and just, be aloof and just leave without it. Um, so I keep my medication separate. I keep them in the center console. Again, open the console, grab the stuff out, doom, put it back in, close it. Um, my EpiPen's kind of the same way. Like it's not in the easiest to access place, but it's in a place where I'm not going to lose it either. So those are super freaking important things to consider. And man, at least in America, like a lot of people are on meds. Like a lot of people are on something, like, and I couldn't tell you what any single person that I go with is on, or if it's detrimental to their, like potentially detrimental if they don't have it. And if it is like, and I'm not saying I need to know everybody's business, but just in the instance you're going on a long trip, like just having that knowledge would be helpful. Thinking through that yourself would be helpful. If you're taking kids, considering that your kids aren't adults and could get themselves into a situation if they're allergic to something, being prepared for that, helpful. Um, all of those things, would be just extremely, um, good thought processes to have. And then knowing the limitations of the people in your group. Like if you get up to something, like I know, for instance, our friend that's somewhat vision impaired, like he's really good at advocating for himself. Like, and we understand what's going on, but like there's also instances where a trail's so narrow, it's kind of sketchy for him, with depth perception and stuff. And sometimes he does go a little slower just because of it. Like, it's not like, oh, he's going slow and this sucks. Like, it's just like, because we know, we're like, cool. Like, we got it. Like, we're good. Like, everybody's good. If you need a spotter over something, the rest of us didn't need a spotter over. Cool. Like, that's a known thing that you need to know. Um, like, it's important. Like, because otherwise we could be on the radio bashing somebody. And again, I'm not trying to be Mr. like, everybody's feelings, like, but just like knowing the potential of like there's a physical reason that this is this way, or there's a physical reason we need to know the ingredients. There's a reason why we need an EpiPen. There's a reason why we need something to keep stuff cool depending on what they have, what's going on. That all is extremely important. And it's not camping gear. Like, it's not camping gear, it's not overlanding gear, but it is the person driving the vehicle wants to stay breathing. You need the stuff. So I think that's an extremely good topic, and I can't even articulate it to the extent that it would go, just because I'm only thinking of things I even know about. But all of you guys that listen, like, you may be the person that has something that I've never heard of. I mean, just make sure you are thinking about it, I guess would be like I'm trying to advocate the thought process here. Like, think about it. Think about telling people about it. Like, you don't need to put it on your Facebook status, but you need to tell the people you're going with so that they know. Like, and the people that are going with, don't be like, okay, who cares? Like, you guys might be gone for 3, 4, 5, 20 days. Like, knowing that would be important. Also, think of the case like you are going somewhere for 2 weeks. Like, maybe you're the person that's going somewhere for 2 weeks and you normally get your prescriptions at the local hospital. Like, being prepared with your doctor to like maybe have those sent to a Walmart or a Walgreens, because along your travels you might be able to pick it up there. Like, never in the world did I even, like, never. I never thought. I mean, even right now, I wouldn't say I've been gone for a month before, and it never crossed my mind to make sure I even had a month worth of my stuff. Never. I mean, I guess I've just been, one, I've been ignorant. Two, I've been lucky. But that's like, and maybe everybody else is like, Charlie, duh. But I mean, here I am. I'm like, yeah, I mean, yes, duh, but I didn't do it, so I got to at least say something about it. You know, you know, my friends got X, Y, or Z, and we got them playing, doing this or that. Like, duh. Well, yeah, duh, if you know, but you might not know. So make sure you guys are communicating that if you have some medical needs. And hopefully nothing needs to happen with it, but it'd be good for everybody to know in case, you know. Hell, even in the case like you forget to take something that's really important or you're forgetful about it, letting somebody else know, like, hey, can you set an alarm too to make sure I take this thing because it's kind of important? Stuff like that. Like, it would be extremely helpful. Not so much talk about like overlanding, but because we're overlanding and the idea is to get far away and the idea is to enjoy it and the idea is to hopefully mitigate catastrophe. That'd be one that's preventable in some cases. Injury, not so much, but like if it's known and you're knowingly going to be having the scenario, like, it's something that's extremely preventable and to think about. So it's kind of a weird topic today. Not weird at all. I mean, it's such a good topic. Like, and again, it never even crossed my mind to talk about it, necessarily even really think about it. So that's again, I'm trying to be here to be educational and I want to be available to you guys. So when I get a topic like this and I'm like, holy crap, never even crossed my mind, I'm gonna talk about it. Like, I can see the benefit in it. So that's what you guys got today. Tomorrow will be a new day. I've got again, this is somebody else's topic that I just kind of ran with. Like, I spun it a little, but I kind of ran with it. And if you guys have anything that comes to mind for you that you think isn't being discussed in the space, um, hit me up. I'll talk about it. I'll bring it up. I'll give you a shout out. Like, this is from Corey. Like, Corey gave me this idea. I'm not here to make any benefit off anybody else, but because I have a platform, I'll talk about your topic. Um, yeah. So anyways, guys, have a good day. Think about that a little bit. It's, man, it's still, I don't want to keep saying it and saying it and saying it, but man, I just want to think about it. I will correct myself and do that more from now on. Anyways, catch you guys later. See you tomorrow. Have a good day. Taco Tuesday. Get some tacos. Talk to you later.